industry, but of course the big focus here today was the reunion of family members. It was an emotional moment, the personal embraces, seeing new family members for the first time. We got to experience that with many family members today, and it really was a very touching moment.
Although this is a great day for travellers and the industry, it does come as Europe is battling a new wave of COVID Delta infections. It's pushed the continent back into the epicentre, and with winter approaching, the WHO is warning there could be 500,000 deaths. Rappers Travis Scott, Drake and entertainment company Live Nation are being sued following the deadly crowd surge at Astroworld Festival in Houston last Saturday. 8 people died and more than 300 were injured when crowds rushed towards the stage as the rapper came on. Some were crushed while others trampled on. As CNN's Rosa Flores reports, Travis Scott's behaviour during the set is now under scrutiny as well.
It was a death trap, basically.
More witnesses are coming forward to share their experiences at Houston's Astroworld Friday night, where 8 people died and hundreds more were injured.
I picked some kid up and his eyes rolled to the back of his head. So I checked his pulse, I knew he was dead, and then I checked the people around me. And I just had to leave him there. There was nothing I could do. I had to keep going.
Another concert goer saying the mood noticeably shifted in the audience just before internationally acclaimed rapper Travis Scott took the stage.
As the time was winding down, people became more rowdy and more antsy and just more standoffish is the vibe that I got.
But Scott maintains he had no idea about the severity of what was happening in the crowd as he continued his set, telling fans in an Instagram video Saturday night that he is devastated by what happened.
Any time I can make out, anything that's going on, I stop the show and, help them get the help they need.
It isn't the first time crowd control issues have come up for Scott, who sells out concerts across the globe and is known for his high-energy shows. In this 2019 Netflix documentary, a member of Travis's team tells security guards about the anticipated rowdy fans ahead of one of his shows.
The pressure becomes very great up against the barricade. You will see a lot of crowd surfers in general, but also you see a lot of kids that are just trying to get out and get to safety because they can't breathe because it's so compact. You won't know how bad it could be with our crowd until we turn on.
In the past, Scott has faced legal trouble for egging on fans at his shows. In 2018, Scott pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct in Arkansas, according to the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette, after police say he encouraged people to rush the stage at one of his shows. 2 other misdemeanor charges, including inciting a riot, were dismissed. And in 2015, Scott pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor reckless conduct charge after encouraging fans to rush the stage at Chicago's Lollapalooza Festival, according to the Chicago Tribune. He was sentenced to a year of court supervision. In Houston, a criminal investigation is now underway, according to police, who are urging concert goers to contact them if they have information to share.
That report by CNN's Rosa Flores. Almost the entire Afghan population is facing the prospect of starvation. 3 months after the Taliban seized control, Western countries stopped their aid, and with the harsh winter approaching, the World Food Programme is appealing to the international community. It's urging the world not to abandon the 23 million people who could soon be suffering food shortages, which could turn the country into hell on earth. David Beasley, the head of the World Food Programme, is in Afghanistan at the moment.
The winter months are coming. We're coming out of a drought. The next 6 months are going to be catastrophic. It is going to be hell on earth. Imagine if this was your little girl or your little boy or your grandchild about to starve to death. You would do everything you possibly could. And when there's $400 trillion worth of wealth on the earth today, shame on us if we let any child die from hunger. Shame on us. I don't care where that child is.
The head of the World Food Programme, David Beasley. In the 8 years since Xi Jinping took office, he has managed to concentrate more power in his hands than any Chinese leader since Chairman Mao. Children as young as 10 take lessons in Xi Jinping's thought and learn stories about his life. That, amongst other things, has led many observers to warn of a new personality cult developing. Now, President Xi is expected to enhance his grip on power yet further at a meeting of senior Communist Party officials that's taking place in Beijing. So, given the control he already has, what more can be done? The BBC's Michael Bristow has this report.
We assume that President Xi has a tight grip, and we assume that even though Chinese politics is to a large extent a closed door, continues behind a screen, we can't see what's going on, but we assume he's got a grip because of the way he's taken over power, reduced the level of other leaders. He seems to be positioning himself to stay in power for another 5 years at the very least, so we assume he's taken the grip on power. But what is happening now in China, in this particular meeting, which takes place over the next 4 days, is that the Communist Party appears to be positioning Xi Jinping not just as any old leader, but one of the great leaders. What's probably going to come out of the meeting is something called a resolution, a Central Committee resolution, quite a boring sounding name, but essentially it's going to be a document listing the party's achievements over the last 100 years. Now, the significance of this is not in what it says, but in the fact that only 2 other leaders previously have issued these kind of resolutions, Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping. So it seems as though the Chinese government is positioning Xi on that particular level, and the media in China has gone into absolute overdrive with a kind of praise for Xi Jinping, calling him a man of determination and action, a man of profound thoughts and feelings, that kind of thing. So really his person is being elevated in this particular meeting.
The BBC's Michael Bristow. And that's World Watch for today. Kia koe, Mani.
Kia ora, Paulina. Now, just quickly, let's go back to Parliament, where the police have brought in reinforcements to deal with a large crowd of demonstrators who are trying to get over barricades. Our reporter Jake McKee is there. Kia ora, Jake. What's going on there?
Kia ora, Marnie. They've just finished up their protest, but people are still standing around. More officers came out onto the Parliament forecourt as some of the protesters started to climb over the fence line. We just got lots of tennis balls thrown at us, a lot of people here targeting the media. The police now standing their ground as people slowly disperse the protesters over, so this fence line does seem to be going down. People do just seem to be hanging out, but there is a lot of questioning going on, a lot of not nice words being said to media here, security and the police as well.
So in terms of those barricades, when those people tried to get over them, what did the police have to do?
So at first the front of the forecourt was just lined with security, Parliament security. They were dotted one about 10 metres apart. But as there were various talks that were going on over a microphone, and as those heated up, the mood got a lot angrier. And we had about 20 police officers come out of Parliament and line up. They're standing in a square in front of the Parliament doors, and they had to push forward towards that fence line to make sure that anyone who had already hopped it wasn't going beyond them and wasn't getting any closer to Parliament.
And you said tennis balls being thrown at the media. How many tennis balls? What were they saying as they were throwing them?
The classics that the media has been paid out by the government, that's a favourite line of theirs, telling us that we are the virus, throwing the tennis balls at us and at the police from on the other side of the fence line. Something they could do. We've also had water thrown at us today, anything. They're not a fan of us.
Hey Jake, stay safe out there. Hopefully it's calmed down with it dispersing. But that is our reporter down at Parliament, Jake McKee, and that is also Te Pūrongo o Te Pōtūtanga midday report for today. But for now, whānau, kia pai tō koutou rā, hei puna kia tau te mauri.
RNZ News at 1. Good afternoon, I'm Marama Tipole. Police reinforcements have been brought in as thousands of protesters demanding an end to all COVID-19 restrictions at Parliament finish up. The crowd has been shouting chants including freedom and you serve us. Murray Atkins says he drove from Gisborne to attend the protest after being told he will lose his job as a driving instructor unless he gets the jab.
We're willing to lose our jobs over this. This is not right, okay? We're going to stand our ground, and there's lots and lots of us with us, okay?
More than 3.7 million New Zealanders have received at least one dose of the Pfizer vaccine, almost 90% of all those eligible. Parliament has significantly stepped up its security settings. Most of the main entrances to Parliament have been shut off, as have parts of the wider building. A contingent of police officers are also on the grounds. The Speaker, Trevor Mallard, said he cannot recall a tighter security response at Parliament in nearly 4 decades. About 250 protesters walked around the Whangarei CBD starting at midday. Their signs and chants protested masks, scanning, lockdowns, vaccination, media coverage and government rules. When RNZ's presence was noticed, they chanted, "Tell the truth," repeatedly. Police followed the group. This morning, 50 protesters blocked traffic at the Northland-Auckland border. A police officer trying to stop the crowd was bitten. About 50 people have gathered in Dunedin's Octagon to protest against the vaccine mandates, while Invercargill is the scene of another protest. The Nurses Organisation says it's challenging and stressful to monitor those who are isolating at home with COVID-19. The nursing workforce has been stretched by the pandemic. Chen Leo reports.
Nurses are already working in MIQ facilities, testing centres and vaccination sites. Now they also have to provide remote support for patients in home quarantine. Kate Weston from the union says patients are quite unwell in some cases and nurses have to check for any deterioration. She says doing that through video calls and text messages sometimes is not easy. Ms. Weston says nurses have to escalate cases to DHBs when needed, but the pathway is not well embedded. She says nurses are also working to vaccinate as many people as possible.
The worst humanitarian crisis on Earth. That's what the director of the UN's World Food Programme is calling the situation in Afghanistan. Winter is looming and there is not enough to eat. Our correspondent Rachel Silverman has the details.
In an interview with the BBC, the head of the UN's World Food Programme warned if the weather is as bad as experts are predicting this winter, large numbers of people will be threatened with acute hunger and widespread famine. David Beasley told the BBC 95% of the people in Afghanistan do not have enough food. He warned 23 million people may soon face starvation there. The World Food Programme has cautioned Afghanistan's needs now surpass those in Ethiopia, South Sudan, Syria, and Yemen.
Vaccination, including against COVID-19, has been made compulsory in Tonga. RNZ Pacific's Susana Leatawa reports.
The Vaccination Act Amendment 2021 has been signed by King Tupou VI, making it compulsory by law to get vaccinated. Tonga's Ministry of Health says it will only exercise this new power if there's the risk of an infectious disease spreading out of control. Tongatapu has just finished a 7-day lockdown after a passenger arriving from Christchurch tested positive, becoming the kingdom's first COVID case. More than 300 passengers and frontline workers remain in 21 days managed isolation.
The first one-way quarantine-free flights arrive in New Zealand tonight from Pacific nations that are considered low risk. The first of these flights lands in Auckland from Tonga tonight at 7:45 p.m. Other quarantine-free flights scheduled include one arriving from Samoa on November the 13th and from Vanuatu on November the 20th. Mount Albert Grammar has once again shut its doors because a student has tested positive for COVID-19. In a post on social media, the principal says the student was on site on Wednesday and Friday last week while infectious. Patrick Drum says all students have been moved back into online learning for the rest of the week. The school was forced to close at the start of this month when another student tested positive for the virus. That's the news.
As part of Aotearoa On the Air 100 Years of Radio, we've been down to the catacombs, opened the vaults and dusted off a classic Kiwi drama.
Here in Omwana, everybody knows everything about everybody. When they eat, when they sneeze, when they itch, and when they scratch. Fed up! Fed up, fed up, fed up, fed up!
Aotearoa by Bruce Mason. This Sunday and next at 3 p.m. on Standing Room Only on RNZ National.
RNZ National funded through New Zealand On Air. Jesse Mulligan is next. Time right now for the short forecast from Met Service to midnight tonight. Northland, Auckland, Waikato and Coromandel to Wellington. Also Wairarapa excluding the Tararua district. Fine apart from areas of low cloud or fog this morning and tonight. A shower or two possible in Auckland and Northland this afternoon. For the rest of the North Island, areas of low cloud or fog this morning. Isolated afternoon and evening showers inland with possible thunderstorms about the Gisborne and Hawke's Bay ranges. Marlborough, Nelson, Buller and Westland fine apart from low cloud or fog. Morning and night, isolated afternoon showers in Buller and Westland. Canterbury, some fine breaks this afternoon. For Southland, Otago, isolated afternoon showers possible inland. For Fiordland, cloudy with drizzle patches, and for the Chatham Islands, cloudy with occasional drizzle. RNZ National at 6 minutes past 1. I'll have headlines at 1:30 and more news and weather at 2.